We usually think of geography as something, entirely fixed. Like you look at a map, you see a set of coordinates, maybe a hill, a river, a town, and you just point your finger and say, like, there it is, that's reality.
Right. Yeah. It's objective, measurable.
Exactly, it's permanent.
And we really rely on that permanence. I mean, it makes the world feel stable just knowing that the ground beneath our feet today is, well, the exact same ground that was there a century ago.
But the moment you step into the realm of historical and spiritual geography, that static, comfortable map it completely shatters.
Oh, absolutely. It falls apart.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are traveling to a specific, seemingly unassuming hill in modern-day Tokyo called Ikegami Town.
Yeah.
And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out how this quiet location became a 700-year magnet for spiritual energy, political rebellion, and cultural survival.
It's a wildly dense history.
It really is.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Where do we even begin with a place that has, like, centuries of friction just baked into its soil?
Well, to really understand Ikegami Town, we have to view it through the lens of what we might call dharmic density.
Dharmic density.
Right, because we aren't just looking at a timeline of human events layered over a patch of dirt. We're looking at how a physical location actually absorbs the spiritual and political turmoil of the people who inhabit it.
Right.
But before we even get to the recorded history of, the rebellious monks and the samurai, we hit an absolute void in the timeline.
Which is the Jomon period.
Exactly, the Jomon period.
So we're talking ancient history here, right? Around, 14,000 to 300 BC?
Yeah, that massive stretch of time. And we know ancient coastal settlements existed all around the Ikegami Plateau, like the famous Omori Shell Mound is nearby, proving that complex communities were living there, thriving, gathering marine resources.
Right.
But when it comes to their spiritual beliefs, or how they viewed the sacredness of the Ikegami Hill itself, total silence.
Wow.
We have zero records of their cosmological map.
Which is just wild to think about. I mean, thousands of years of human habitation, generations upon generations living on this specific hill, and their entire spiritual relationship with the land is just lost to time.
Completely lost.
So for those of you listening right now who love a massive historical challenge, this is a research gap waiting for someone to investigate. Like, digging into the primary archaeological data from the Tokyo National Museum could actually start filling in the ancient spiritual geography of this plateau.
Oh, definitely. Unlocking those early layers would completely reframe how we view Tokyo's ancient foundations.
Because what were they worshiping? What did that hill mean to them?
Right. We just don't know. But, the history that we do have documented for Ikegami, it starts with an absolute explosion.
Yes, it does. Let's jump to the year 1282. How does a quiet, private samurai estate suddenly transform into the epicenter of a radical religious movement?
Well, it centers entirely on the arrival of one man, right? The radical Buddhist monk, Nichiren. By the time he reaches Ikegami in 1282, Nichiren had survived.
Yeah.
Like the absolute worst the ruling Kamakura shogunate could throw at him.
Because he wasn't just a quiet monk, he was a troublemaker for the government.
Oh, he was fiercely critical of the government. And he mercilessly attacked other Buddhist sects for what he saw as corrupted teachings. Because of this, he was heavily, heavily persecuted.
Like violently persecuted.
Yeah, he survived an actual literal execution attempt, the famous Tatsunokuchi persecution. He was literally moments away from being beheaded before.
Wait, this is the part I love. Before a sudden astronomical phenomenon stopped the executioners, right?
Exactly. Some sort of meteor or lighting anomaly flashed across the sky, and they were so terrified they stopped the execution.
Unbelievable.
So after surviving that, he endures years of brutal, freezing political exile on Sado Island. And by the autumn of 1282, his health is just failing.
Right, he's getting older.
Yeah, so he leaves his mountain retreat, intending to travel to a hot spring to recover. But he only makes it as far as Ikegami. He stops at the private estate of one of his secret followers. And on October 13th, he dies there.
But his death isn't an ending.
No.
That's what makes this location so fascinating to me. His physical death is actually the inciting incident for the land itself.
Yeah, and this is where we really have to introduce a crucial cosmological concept from the Nichiren tradition. It's called Kokudo Jibutsu.
Kokudo Jibutsu. So the idea of the land itself attaining Buddhahood.
Right, exactly. In this theological framework, a holy person's death isn't viewed as like a biological cessation or even a departure of the soul.
Okay, so what is it?
It is a permanent fusion of their spiritual energy, their dharma body, with the physical earth.
Oh, wow.
So when Nichiren took his last breath at Ikegami, the ground literally absorbed his spiritual authority. The philosophy dictates that the soil, the trees, the very atmosphere received a permanent dharmic imprinting.
So the geography was forever changed just by the sheer weight of his spiritual presence fusing with the dirt.
Exactly.
Which, for anyone visiting Tokyo today, translates into an unbelievable physical experience.
Oh, you have to go.
Yeah, if you go to Ikegami, there's a massive hidden gem you need to check out. It's called the Daibo, also known as Hongyoji Temple. And it is the exact historical spot of Nichiren's passing.
The very spot.
And the sensory transition when you walk into this space is intense. Like, you walk about 10 minutes from the neon lights, the convenience stores, the noise of the modern Ikegami train station.
Just typical modern Tokyo.
Exactly. And then suddenly you hit this mossy stone slope.
And the environment just violently shifts.
It really does. The air temperature noticeably drops. You find yourself completely enveloped by this natural canopy of ancient Zelkova and ginkgo trees.
They're so thick.
Yeah, they're so thick they literally filter out the light pollution of the city. And amidst this sudden, heavy quiet, you can hear the sound of an ancient well just trickling in the courtyard.
It is a visceral, physical sensation of stepping into a different century.
Absolutely. It forces a shift in your modern perception. You just have to slow down and acknowledge the weight of the space.
Yeah.
But there is a historical mystery surrounding this event that absolutely fascinates me.
The Kamakura record.
Yes. So when Nichiren was dying at this estate, hundreds of his disciples traveled there to be with him.
Right, it was a huge gathering.
It was a massive, highly sensitive gathering of a heavily persecuted religious group. Yet, if you look at the official Kamakura shogunate history from that time, this meticulously kept document called the Azuma Kagami, it says absolutely nothing about this massive gathering or his death. Total silence.
The omission is just glaring. I mean, this was the most controversial figure of his era, surrounded by radicals, and the state's official record just ignores it completely.
It's exactly like a modern government using algorithms to suppress a trending political protest.
That is a great way to put it.
It is pure administrative silencing. They just shadow banned his death from the historical record, hoping that if they didn't write it down, the movement would just, fade away.
Right, but that administrative silence creates a massive literature blank spot. And honestly, it's a perfect side quest for you listening.
Oh, totally.
Like, why did the shogunate stay silent? Were they terrified that mentioning him would spark a wider rebellion?
Or were they secretly relieved he was dying?
Exactly. We really need researchers to dive into the ancient archives at the Kuyunji Temple in Yamanashi, to figure out what kind of back-channel, panicked communications the shogunate was having while hundreds of these radicals converged on Ikegami.
Okay, speaking of converging on Ikegami, we need to talk about the estate itself.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Because why did Nichiren stop at this specific spot? Whose house was he staying at, and what were the dynamics of that household? Because, you don't just casually host the state's most wanted religious radical.
No, definitely not. To understand the tension of that household, we have to rewind just a bit to the years between, 1260 and 1282. The estate belonged to the Ikegami brothers, Munonaka and Munonaka.
Right.
And they were local samurai administrators who had secretly become followers of Nichiren.
Emphasize secretly, because tying your political fortunes to a radical outcast is basically career suicide for a samurai.
Oh, beyond career suicide. It triggered a vicious localized family feud.
Right, because of their father.
Yeah, their father, Yasumitsu. He was a strict traditionalist and a government official. And he violently opposed his son's conversion. He went so far as to threaten them with total disinheritance.
Which is huge. We have to remember that in 13th century samurai culture, being disinherited by your father wasn't just about, losing an inheritance or a house.
No, it was essentially social, political, and financial death.
Right. Filial piety was the absolute bedrock of their society. You obey your father or you lose your entire identity.
Exactly. But Nichiren actually intervened directly. He wrote a series of intense, demanding letters to the brothers, insisting they choose their spiritual faith over their earthly father's demands.
So he forces this absolute, irreconcilable collision between secular samurai loyalty and radical religious devotion.
Yeah, he demanded they risk everything.
And the standoff ends in the most unexpected way, because according to the historical narrative we have, the father actually breaks.
Right.
He converts on his deathbed just a year before Nichiren himself arrives to die at the estate. And because of this monumental reconciliation, the brothers end up donating their entire massive samurai estate to become the temple complex we see today, Ikegami Honmonji.
And if we look at the cosmological implication here, the physical transformation of this space is just profound.
How so?
Well, in just 20 years, a private, secular administrative node, a samurai's literal backyard and political stronghold, is converted into a permanent public sacred realm.
Wow, yeah.
It is the ultimate sacrifice of worldly administrative territory for the sake of spiritual permanence.
And you can still feel the weight of that transformation.
Oh, definitely.
Like if you visit, another hidden gem you have to find is the Nichiren Mausoleum. It's located right behind the main hall. And the microclimate there is stunning.
It really is.
You walk up these wet, deeply moss-covered stone slopes, entirely shaded by an old tree canopy. And there is this physical sensation of crossing a boundary line. You can literally feel your body transitioning from the secular administrative world into a sacred dimension.
It's a very powerful space.
But wait, I have to push back on this narrative a little bit.
Okay, lay it on me.
We only know about this intense, dramatic family feud through a collection known as the Ikegami brothers' letters, right?
Right.
And those letters were written by Nichiren himself.
Yeah, they were.
Aren't we just getting one highly biased side of the story?
That raises an incredibly important question, and it's a vital piece of critical thinking when looking at these sources. We are relying entirely on the victor's narrative here.
Right.
The samurai father's actual perspective, his internal political fears, his potential negotiations with the shogunate to protect his sons, all of his own words are completely missing from the historical record.
It's a massive blind spot. We are taking the word of the religious leader who caused the rift in the first place.
Which presents another perfect research rabbit hole for you. To truly understand this conflict, we need someone to verify these events using primary Tokugawa or Kamakura administrative documents.
Yeah, like, did the father truly have a miraculous deathbed conversion?
Or is that a politically convenient narrative crafted after his death to justify the transfer of the estate to the religious order?
Oh, that's such a good point.
The actual unvarnished truth is likely hiding in those primary state sources.
So we have this physical land transformed by a family's sacrifice and imprinted by a radical's death. But how does this specific spiritual energy survive for 700 years? Like, how does a single location maintain its dharmic density for that long?
According to the traditions of Ikegami, it survives through a mind-bending manipulation of time.
Which brings us to the famous legend of the October cherry blossoms.
Right.
So the legend goes that when Nichiren died in late autumn, October 1282, the cherry trees on the Ikegami estate miraculously bloomed, completely out of season.
And to grasp the weight of this, we really have to look at the cosmological significance of a cherry blossom in Japanese culture.
Because it's not just a flower.
No, traditionally, the sakura, the cherry blossom, symbolizes mono no aware.
Mono no aware.
It means the poignant, fleeting, fragile nature of life. It is the ultimate symbol of impermanence because it blooms beautifully and then scatters almost immediately.
Right.
But in Nichiren's theology, this miraculous October bloom flips that cultural script entirely.
It redefines the flower.
Exactly. Because it happens out of season, defying the natural laws of biological decay in winter, it ceases to represent impermanence. Instead, it becomes a symbol of eternal, unshakable truth, the Dharma piercing through linear time.
It represents the spiritual spring manifesting right in the middle of the political and physical autumn.
Beautifully put.
And what's amazing is that they still celebrate this time-bending miracle every single year at the Orishiki Festival. If you ever have the chance to visit Tokyo in mid-October, this is an absolute must-see gem.
Oh, the scale of it is staggering.
Yeah, we are talking about 300,000 people gathering at night in this normally quiet town.
The logistics of a gathering that size are just incredible.
And the centerpiece is the Manto procession. Picture this. You have thousands of people marching in the dark, carrying these massive 3-meter-tall bamboo lanterns.
Right, and the lanterns are completely covered in artificial pink and white paper cherry blossom.
Yeah, they're bobbing and swaying in the night air above the massive crowds, and you have the distinct smell of the nearby ocean.
Mixing with thick, heavy clouds of temple incense.
Exactly. And the soundtrack to all of this is the deep, resonant bass of taiko drums and the haunting ancient wail of conch shells.
It creates this overwhelming, multi-sensory bubble.
It really is like a pocket of ancient time that has somehow survived, fully intact, right in the middle of LED-lit modern Tokyo. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
From a scientific botanical standpoint, Cherry flowers almost certainly didn't bloom in October of 1282. The climate simply doesn't support it.
The meteorological reality makes it virtually impossible, yeah.
And even better historians have no idea when this massive lantern procession actually began. Did it start in the 1300s, the 1600s? Nobody knows.
It's a complete mystery.
So, if you want a real historical challenge, dive into Edo period travelogues, diaries, and local records. Finding the true historical origin of the Manto procession is a mystery waiting to be solved.
It really showcases how a community uses ritual to literally fold time. I mean, the community enacts the eternal spring, regardless of when the ritual actually started.
Right.
But, a festival this large and a religious sect this relentlessly organized was bound to attract the attention of the next group of rulers.
Right. Because eventually, a new government comes to power that wants to control this dense spiritual energy. Enter the Tokugawa shogunate in 1608.
Yeah, so Tokugawa Hidetada, the second shogun of the Edo period, has a significant political problem. The Nichiren sect, based at Ikegami, is getting incredibly powerful, and they operate under a strict theological rule called fuzufuse.
Fuzufuse, meaning they refuse to give anything to or receive anything from non-believers?
Total religious exclusivity.
Yeah.
They wouldn't accept state donations from the shogun, and they wouldn't perform prayers for him.
Which is a huge slap in the face.
Oh, a massive threat. For a new government that is desperately trying to unify a historically fractured and violent country, a powerful, organized group that point-blank refuses to interact with the state is a problem.
Right.
Hidetada knows he needs to conquer them, but he decides not to use swords.
He conquers them with architecture.
Yes, he does.
He gifts the temple a massive, stunning 5-story wooden pagoda. I love this piece of history. It's brilliant, devious, and incredibly manipulative.
It really is.
It's exactly like a hostile corporate takeover, but perfectly disguised as a massive, very public philanthropic donation. Because if the temple rejects the building, they insult the shogun, appear ungrateful, and invite military destruction.
Which they don't want.
Right. But if they accept this beautiful building, they tacitly accept the shogun's authority. And they break their own strict fuzufuse rule by receiving a gift from a non-believer.
And what's fascinating here is the cosmological paradox built into the physical structure of the pagoda itself.
Yeah, explain this, because this is wild.
Well, this isn't just any building. The 5-story pagoda is designed using esoteric Buddhist geometry. The 5 tiers deliberately represent the 5 esoteric elements: earth, water, fire, wind, and void.
And Nichiren despised esoteric Buddhism. He spent his entire life fighting it.
He absolutely hated it. He considered it a deeply corrupted teaching that was ruining the country. Yet the Tokugawa shogunate outmaneuvers his followers, forcing them to accept a towering monument memorializing their founder, built entirely in a theological language he vehemently opposed. The conquered are forced to be memorialized in the aesthetic and spiritual language of the conqueror.
It is the ultimate architectural troll move.
That's exactly what it is.
And this creates an unbelievable physical tension for anyone visiting today. When you walk through Ikegami Hanmanji, you need to go stand exactly between the main hall, which represents the site of Nichiren's fierce persecution and death, and this 30-meter-tall wooden pagoda, which is the undeniable monument of their political co-optation.
The physical proximity of those two structures creates a palpable tension.
You can physically feel it. You smell the old wood resin radiating from the pagoda, and if you reach out and touch the heavy metal fittings in the winter, they are freezing cold. You are literally running your hands over a 400-year-old political paradox.
And the crazy thing is, we still don't know the full story of how the temple leadership navigated this impossible situation.
Which brings us to another side quest.
Yes, we highly encourage you to look up the Tokugawa Jiki, the official shogunate records. What kind of backroom midnight negotiations forced this pagoda onto the temple grounds? How did the monks rationalize breaking their most sacred rule?
The official records might hold a key to understanding that political compromise.
Exactly.
So the shogunate tries to co-opt the space with a giant wooden pagoda. But as history marches on, regimes change. Fast forward about 250 years, and a new government takes over in 1868.
The Meiji Restoration.
Right. And they decide that co-opting the spiritual space isn't enough. They want to erase its identity completely.
Yeah, the new Meiji government is desperate to modernize Japan and consolidate power. And part of their grand strategy is to elevate Shintoism as the pure indigenous state religion.
Right.
To achieve this, they issue extreme, sweeping orders to forcibly separate Buddhism from Shinto.
Which was a violent, traumatic shock to the cultural system. Because for over 1,200 years, Buddhism and Shinto had been deeply, intricately blended together across Japan.
Oh, deeply blended. Deities were shared, architecture was mixed, rituals were intertwined.
Right. And the separation policy led to the massive, heartbreaking destruction of Buddhist artifacts, statues, bells, and temples across the country. It was an outright purge.
It was.
But here's where the story of Ikegami Town takes a wildly ironic turn.
This is one of the great historical ironies. Think back to that strict exclusionary rule, fuse.
Right, the one that got them in trouble with the shogun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because Nichiren Buddhism was so fiercely exclusive, so incredibly stubborn about not mixing with other beliefs for centuries, the Ikegami temple actually didn't have many Shinto elements to begin with.
They were too stubborn to blend in, so there was nothing to untangle.
Their centuries-long history of being radical, exclusive outcasts gave them a bizarre structural immunity to the Meiji Purge.
Wow.
The government agents arrived to strip away the Shinto elements and found almost nothing to strip away. The persecution they endured for centuries had actually bred their immunity to this new wave of destruction.
That is incredible, and it creates a very unique experience for a visitor today.
It really does.
Because what's amazing about visiting Ikegami Hanmanji today is actually what's missing.
Right.
If you walk the grounds, the sensory experience is incredibly purely Buddhist. It's just the deep smell of incense, the sharp rhythmic crack of wooden blocks, the low continuous hum of chanting monks.
Yeah.
There are no Shinto straw ropes wrapped around trees, no torii gates marking the entrances. The sheer absence of these elements is the physical fingerprint of the Meiji government's purge, but also a towering testament to the temple's bizarre, stubborn resilience.
And, we know the local Oda Ward administrators had to document this period, but there's a distinct lack of widespread records detailing exactly how the monks navigated these terrifying inspections.
So there's your next mission. Hunt down those 19th century local administrative files in Oda Ward. Find out how the locals reacted when the government agents showed up to inspect the temple, expecting to tear things down, only to find a perfectly insulated Buddhist fortress.
It's a great research opportunity. And, looking at all these historical events, back to back, the Kamakura shadow banning, the Samurai Fathers' threats, the Tokugawa Pagoda, the Meiji Purge, a really profound historical meta-pattern emerges about this specific piece of geography.
So what does this all mean? Like when we zoom out and look at these 700 years of history on this one specific Tokyo hill?
Well, it means that Ikegami Town isn't just a place where a holy man happened to die. It operates as a magnetic accumulation point of religious persecution.
Okay.
It possesses this ironic spiral structure of resilience. Every single time an outside force tried to suppress, co-opt, or erase it, the suppression completely backfired. The friction of the attacks actually layered more spiritual authority and permanence onto the land.
It's like an architectural and geographical sedimentary layer.
Exactly.
Every attack, every compromise, every threat just gets absorbed into the soil. The depth of Ikegami's sacredness is directly proportional to the number of times it was attacked. It literally absorbs the friction of history and turns it into spiritual density.
The space doesn't just survive history. It consumes it.
It is a brilliant way to look at geography. But as we wrap up today's deep dive, there is one final mind-boggling detail about this location that we have to talk about. A final provocative thought to leave you with as you go about your day.
Yeah, because there's a fifth layer of persecution. And this one isn't religious, it's a modern, terrifyingly secular persecution. The 1945 Tokyo air raids.
The fire bombings that literally decimated the city, turning massive swaths of Tokyo into ash.
Right. But amidst the indiscriminate carpet bombing that had destroyed so much of the surrounding city, that 30-meter wooden, 5-story Tokugawa pagoda survived.
A towering wooden structure in the middle of a firestorm.
Unbelievable, right? So I want you to ponder this. When a physical space spends 700 years thriving on and absorbing targeted political and religious suppression, how do we interpret its survival against indiscriminate modern warfare?
Right.
Was that wooden pagoda surviving the firebombs mere geographic luck, an anomaly of the wind? Or was it the ultimate physical validation of a 700-year-old magnetic field of resilience?
Wow. Was it luck, or was it the land itself refusing to break? What a question to end on. We hope this deep dive has inspired you to keep digging, keep questioning the history beneath your feet. And maybe, just maybe, book a flight to Tokyo to stand in the mossy courtyard of the Daibo and feel that temperature drop for yourself. Until next time, keep exploring.